All right, today we're diving into a hypothesis that makes a really wild claim that everything, physics, the language we speak, even spirituality, is all governed by the same hidden code. The idea is that it's all one, single, interconnected story. So let's jump in and see how this whole thing supposedly fits together.
So everything really hangs on this one single, massive question. It's asking us to stop thinking about reality in separate boxes. Science over here, philosophy over there. Instead, it wants us to see it all as one unified system that runs on the same set of rules. It's a pretty bold place to start, so let's see how the author actually builds this case.
Okay, so to even start to wrap our heads around this model, we've got to get familiar with its three core building blocks. These are the absolute fundamentals that everything else is built on top of.
All right, first up, we've got this core term, Philfo. It's short for something called Philselfology, which is a mashup of philosophy, self, and science. But in this model, Philfo is more than just a word. It stands for the fundamental triplet that supposedly makes up all of reality: light, sound, and vibration. According to the source, absolutely everything in the universe is just some combination of those three things. Next up is cymatics. Now, you might have heard of cymatics. It's the study of how sound vibrations can create these beautiful, visible geometric patterns. But this hypothesis takes that idea and dials it way, way up, turning it into a cosmic principle. In this system, cymatics is the creative force that takes the abstract energy of light and sound and actually gives it physical form, creating what the author calls a flower of cymatics. And the final piece of the puzzle, the thing meant to tie it all together, the Philfo grace particle. This is a proposed fundamental particle, and it's described with a very unique name, a reversible Higgs boson. The whole point of this particle, in this theory, is to be the ultimate glue, the thread that connects tiny subatomic particles like neutrinos all the way up to something as complex as human consciousness. It's basically the linchpin holding this entire system together.
So, with those basics down, the theory makes its first huge leap. It offers a totally radical way of looking at language itself, basically proposing that it's the literal source code for the entire universe.
And this is where it gets super specific. Get this. The idea here is that a particular alphabet, Ikegurumuki, isn't just for writing stuff down. The claim is that its structure is a direct map of the fundamental building blocks of reality, just like the periodic table in chemistry organizes all the elements.
So, you can see here the alphabet is laid out in this grid of 5 columns and 7 rows. According to the theory, this setup is anything but random. The first row of vowels, that represents light. The second row of vowels represents sound. And that fifth column with its special vowels is said to represent vibration.
And this whole structure leads to the theory's core equation, E equals O plus IA. So the O stands for that first vowel row, for light. The A is the second vowel row, for sound. And that I point in the middle, that's the bridge. It represents the fifth column, vibration, or cymatics, which takes that light and sound and organizes it into consonants, or what the theory calls solid elements. Now here's where this abstract map gets literally placed right onto the human body. The vowels, which remember are light, sound, and vibration, are said to line up with the forehead. And those 5 rows of consonants, they supposedly map perfectly to the different parts of your mouth from the back of your throat all the way to your lips. In this view, the forehead becomes a plate of cymatics, and the tongue is called a bio-leaf. And, this way of thinking, of mapping these big ideas onto biology, doesn't stop there. It goes all the way down to our DNA. The source describes this really unconventional model that goes way beyond what we typically learn. It starts with 4D DNA, which is the amino acid-based structure we all know. But then it adds 5D DNA, which it says is based on essential oils, and even 11D DNA, based on much more abstract things like hydrogen and vibration. Okay, so we've looked at how the theory applies to language and biology, the really small-scale stuff. Now, let's pull the camera back. The next part of this model scales these same ideas up to try and explain the relationship between us, the planet, and the entire cosmos.
The core idea here is what the author calls a self-similar model. The thinking is that the human body is just a smaller version, a microcosm, of the planet itself. So our blood flow, that's like the planet's rivers. A heart attack is like a flood. High blood pressure is a volcano. A stroke is an earthquake. And our 2 eyes are said to correspond to the Earth's 2 eyes, the sun and the moon. And if you follow that logic, our whole existence isn't just a one-way street of us taking resources from the Earth. Instead, it's framed as this balanced, sustainable loop of reversible contributions, where we're actually a key part of the planet's own life cycle.
So what are these contributions? Well, the first few are pretty straightforward biological cycles, right? We breathe, we eat, we drink, we perspire, and we return compounds back to the Earth. But then it takes a really cosmic turn. Step 5 says we take in cosmic neutrinos and give back something called 2D biomatter. And step 6 frames the act of creating life as weaving on a cosmic Afghan infinity loom. I mean, these are clearly very specific, very metaphorical terms inside this worldview.
So where are these cosmic neutrinos from step 5 supposed to be coming from? Well, the source points to the absolutely insane speed of our solar system. As we're just rocketing through the Milky Way at 828,000 kilometers per hour, the theory says we are constantly flying through this dense shower of cosmic particles, just soaking them up.
And what's so wild about this is the scale. In this model, it's not just giant galaxies and stars shooting out neutrinos. It's also the Earth's core, our own bodies, and even the food we eat, like bananas, tomatoes, and beans. It's a vision that literally connects the biggest things in the universe with the food on your plate.
And to really hammer home just how crucial these ideas are in this system, the author makes this pretty bold statement. Medicines may fail without cymatics. It really underlines the whole idea that if we don't understand this fundamental creative force of vibration, then even our most advanced science might be missing a huge piece of the puzzle.
Okay, so let's tie all these different threads together. What's the end game here? What is the big picture that this whole complex framework is trying to paint for us?
So when you look at it all, the Philfo hypothesis isn't really just a list of strange claims. It's a blueprint for an entire worldview. It's a massive attempt to tell one single cohesive story about reality, where the letters we write, the bodies we live in, and the cosmos we look up at are all just different ways of expressing the same deep principles of light, sound, and vibration.
And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? I mean, regardless of what you think about the specifics of this one hypothesis, the actual drive to create something like this is pretty profound. What is our deep human need to find a theory of everything, whether it's in a physics lab or a philosophical text? Tell us about our search for patterns, for connection, and for meaning in this incredibly complex universe.